Petri, and in today's video, I'd like to introduce you to beautiful line bully, Karma. Before we start, I'd like to ask you to subscribe and like the video, because then you will have good karma in your games. I promise I'll get better jokes. For now, let's have a look into runes. Basically, there is one tree you will want to take almost every game, and that is Sorcery. You have option to take Arcane Comet or Array, while Array is obviously more support oriented, but in my personal opinion, Comet is better because it complements Karma's passive and her kit overall. Meaning that you will be able to proc it really often, and since you will be using your Q inline a lot, with that slow from the ability you will be hitting Arcane Comet every time. After this, since it's just a personal preference, I like Arcane Comet. You may like to be a really supportive player and just give as much shield as you can. It's an personal preference, as I said already. Oh my god, why am I stepping on it? Then you will want to go definitely mana flow band, because after you take this rune, I guarantee you that after level 6 and 1-2 items you will never run out of mana. Meaning that this could be really powerful because you will be using your abilities a lot after the laning phase is done, and this guarantees you that you will always hit it. After that you want to go Transcendent because cooldowns are almost everything on Karma and the rest isn't really that useful. And Scorch, as I was saying before, depends on what you want to play. I've seen people going for Gathering Storm so you can have bigger shields late game. I just think that Karma is a lane bully, so Scorch is better for her. For secondary tree, it kind of confirms everything I've said already. Basically, it's because you will be poking and you will run out of mana eventually early game, and also it is a really great way of healing when you actually engage because the healing skills from your maximum health and not just some random number, and Cosmic Insight because cooldowns. With this we can get into small runes where, again, Ability Haste because cooldowns, and Adaptive Force and Armor or Magic Resist depending on your preference. Here I would usually say that if you know that enemy ADC isn't gonna be much impactful and they will instead have poking champion 2, you can probably take this according to support, because you will probably be buying items that help you with your defenses later on. With that, I will stop talking about runes and I will see you with everything else in the game. And we are here. So, basically, summoners are gonna be easy as always. You always want to go for flash, and depending on enemy matchup, you want to go either for ignite or you can take exhaust instead. When you do take exhaust, I usually recommend it into heavy assassin team comms because you will probably and could get those early kills if enemies are trying to stay in the lane with you. Now for the items. First off, you will always want to start with Spell Thief since you will be hitting enemies a lot and you are AP. That is probably everything I can say to that. Then, as your main item, you will usually want to go for Moonstone because Imperial Mandate is a nice item if you know that your team is able to quickly wreck enemies. So if you have, for if I'm talking solely ADC, if you have something like Illusion. But most of the time, Moonstone is extremely good. It has much bigger value in team fights, and all of your abilities are able to trigger it pretty well. Meaning that I would always buy Moonstone on Karma. For boots, again, there's not much to discuss. Sometimes I've seen people going for Mobies. I don't like the idea of that. I like Lucidity because, first off, in team fights they grant you more movement speed than Mobies, and most importantly, they have ability haste. And what does Karma want? Ability haste. After that, I tend to go for Staff of Flowing Water because you usually buy either this item or Ardent Sensor. And since Ardent Sensor does grant that attack speed, it has much lesser value. This is mostly for you, but for your support allies, this grants you first off it grants ability power, which is nice, but you want it for that ability haste. And it's a really strong item because you will be moving really fast. You have that ability haste. I like stuff of flowing water. After that, I usually go for Chemtech because I think that in this season there's not a game where at least there's not at least two Grievous Wounds items. Because not only are there many healing abilities, but many of the items this season grant great heals. So Chemtech Putrifier is really strong, and since you will be using your E a lot, you will get that 60% Grievous Wounds really often. And to finish it off, you have few options. If you really want to go that I will support you style, you can go for Ardent Sensor, even though I would not recommend it. Otherwise, if there are really prolonged fights and you want that extra healing, you can go for Redemption. Or instead of that, you can go for Stirring Quartzstone, which will eventually transport, which and grant you that increased movement speed and ability haste. And with that, I guess that is going to be everything for items. Now, let's have a look at abilities. So, first off, your passive. Well, how will I start? Yeah, your passive. Basically, you start your game with a point in your ultimate. And every time you hit enemy with any of your abilities or auto attack, the cooldown of your ultimate will be reduced. Now, I guess I can quickly get into ultimate. Your ultimate, called Mantra, is basically your playstyle. Every now and then, your you can empower next ability you used within 8 seconds with additional effects. I will talk about that during this. But let's just say right now I will up the E, and every time I hit enemy now, you can see it, the cooldown is getting reduced by the according seconds. Meaning that you will be late game able to use this ability almost instantaneously. It also has no cost, so you will just be making your abilities much stronger. Now to the abilities itself. First, we got your Q Inner Flame, which is a kind of short skill shot, which after hitting an enemy will deal an area of effect damage in a circle around the enemy. I will try to demonstrate this. And slowing all enemies hit. This is why Karma is such strong in line, because she can dish out quite okay-ish damage, and also she will hit her comet really easily. When you use your mantra, the damage is well, the damage is increased, and you'll get a second second wave damage. Basically, you create this big circle, which after I'm not sure about the timing, but I believe it's 2 seconds, maybe, probably less, 1.5 seconds. It deals secondary damage. Uh, as you can see, my mantra was instantly ready. That was because every time you hit an enemy with that Q, you will grant that cooldown reduction. And since you can hit as many enemies as you want with your Q, as long as they're stacked on top of each other, it will count towards your mantra, and you can reset your Q, your ultimate really fast. So I would usually recommend starting in team fights with Mantra Q because you will be able to get that additional damage and probably getting your Mantra back really fast to use it on the rest of your abilities. Second is your W, which is a point and click ability, which will deal damage to an enemy, reveal them, and if after 2 seconds you are still in the range demonstrated right here, they will be rooted. The duration increases with level, and it is actually a really strong ability if it's used right. If you use it with your E, which I'll talk later, you have almost guaranteed uh, roots, and it can help your allies get the damage like any route ever. Uh, your Q can also help once you hit the enemy because if you root them and then slow them down, they will have guaranteed root. If you upgrade the hmm, if you use your mantra to make your W stronger, you will pardon me, you will heal 20% of your health and healing another 20% once the root goes off. This is not so strong during the fights and laning phase since you will be able to get much more value out of power of empowered Q and E. But what many people don't realize is that you can actually use your empowered W while you're alone in jungle, meaning that you can get those heals from jungle monsters. And as of this, if you are alone in a jungle, you can, oh, you don't have to be alone without enemies. You can very safely go and get some healing of your W, since you don't really have many healing otherwise. And lastly, we got your E, which is extreme, which is extremely strong ability. Again, point and click. You will grant ally or yourself a shield and 60% movement speed. It goes from 30, I believe 40% movement speed up to 60. This is really great for engages on or when you're trying to save your allies from incoming attack. This makes Karma, in my opinion, really good against all-in champions, like for example Pike, who will have much harder time hitting his hooks if you are just running around, not not allowing him to get anywhere closer. If you do empower your E, you will grant that shield to all allies in the range. You can see the little circle around. And also we will grant them the same movement speed, meaning that everyone will get a shield and you can run out onto enemies or away from them. This is why this is your strongest ability probably, because you have that powerful engages and can basically protect your whole team. Now, for ability upgrades, you always want to start with Q, then E, and then W. And for maxing the abilities, I if I'm feeling okay in line that we can fight enemies, I usually put 3 points in my Q, so I have more powerful poke, and then I max my E because again it's the strongest ability you have, followed up with W. Reason for that is that the W has increased root with every level, while Q's slow is always the same. So yes, you may try to go for Q up max first, but I would recommend maxing it last because this gives you much more utility. And obviously you want to upgrade your mantra every time you can. And that is going to be everything for abilities. Now, there's not many things to talk about combos here, but obviously you will want to start fight with mantra on your abilities, usually the Q, because that allows you to get the mantra back fast. And other than that, I can probably just recommend some, well, really easy combo is using your W and then giving yourself that speed buff so you can catch onto the enemy, or you can instead W and then Q them because they won't be able to move. Other really strong option is to W them, then use our empowered Q, and while they're slowed, the root will go off and you will get the second part of your damage from Q. Any other option is using your ultimate with E to engage onto enemies and then rooting your desired target. So well, I can't really show that here, but we're gonna E my teammate, root enemy, and they should be able to kill him. That is basically it. Now, towards the laning phase, you will usually be trying to be at a safe distance from your ADC so you can always peel for them with your E and try to poke onto enemy champions as often as you can because you have low cooldowns, pretty low mana costs, and you are usually going to be able to make better trades since you have that slow on your Q, which kind of doesn't allow them to chase you. If they are using some champions, like I was saying before, some engaging champions like Leona Pike, Nautilus, it's much harder to land your Q, so I would usually wait with poking until second level, which they become much dangerous too, but you then have your E, meaning that you can dodge those hooks and then get that poke on them. Other than that, you want to usually use your mantra as often as possible. If you know that you can utilize it to some extent, you don't wanna just land mantra Q on some minions, unless you're recalling and you're trying to push the wave. And yeah, for matchups, I usually am trying to ban champions who can do what you do better. So, for example, my number one ban would probably be Lulu, since she can shield the damage from your Q and probably deal more damage than you can shield in the early levels, because the shield isn't that great on level 1, 2, 3. After that, it's mostly on preference. Probably if you are not afraid of Lulu, you want to get rid of some of those extremely powerful engage champions. For me, it's Nautilus because first off, Nautilus is just really powerful on level 2 and could probably 1v1 you. Well, not that, but Not it's Leona tools. That's basically what I'm gonna say. Leona is kind of a big deal too, but with Leona you have kind of really free lane until level 6 because your Q is much longer than her E, so she can probably decide to flash onto you, but once she does do that, she will probably be far from her ADC. Now, this is just theoretical. If they are very well, uh, uh, if they if they work together on some strategy and they are duo, they will probably kill you. But you have much longer range. You have that slow, so Leona is not a big problem until she hits level 6, where you are just a ragdoll for them. And for champions that Karma does work well with, it's usually someone who has good good early power and scales well. As I was saying, Lucian is really great since you can give him the shield from your E and give him that movement speed buff, which he can then follow up with his own movement speed. And other options would probably be Ashe because Ashe is a really good champion, and if she has that movement speed buff, she has much better chances of surviving because her only other option is to slow enemies down. So now she is able to run away. Other than that, maybe you can do well with Draven because Draven has really strong early power, and if you give him movement speed, which can stack with his W, he has really easy time catching his axis while fighting. And that is probably going to be everything. I hope I teach you something new, and I will see you in the next video. Battery out!